Santa. I've been a very good reviewer this year. For Christmas, please can you bring me Megan Fox wearing nothing but her... Yes, just wearing nothing will do. Oh, hello there! It's the Big Daddy... It's the Big Daddy D here, and welcome to my Christmas special of 2011. Now, my original plan was to follow up from last year's Christmas special where I reviewed Jack Frost, Attack of the Mutant Killer Snowman. I was going to follow this up this year with the sequel, Jack Frost 2. But believe it or not, I actually managed to find a film that was even more horrifying than the trials and tribulations of a serial killing snowman. Shall we take a look? Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Santa Buddies. Now, there's been an entire franchise built on these cute little doggies. The series started out with Air Bud, which was about a Labrador dog that learns to play basketball. This became so successful that later Bud movies followed, with our lovable Labrador learning a new sport in each movie. A spin-off series kicked off from this with Air Buddies, which told the story of Bud's puppies, named the Buddies. Since then we've had Space Buddies, Snow Buddies, this movie, Santa Buddies, and just recently, Scary Buddies. Well, it starts off well when we first see Santa Claus, who appears to be utterly and completely pissed as a fart. And who is playing the part of Santa? Why, it's none other than Norm from Cheers. Well, if my acting career was down the crapper as much as this, I'd probably be down in the shots between takes myself. So Santa is out walking his dog, Santa Paws, at the North Pole, and heads into a cave with a giant icicle. Apparently this is the Christmas icicle, and it's dripping out all of its magic. Okay, now that alone right there should have been warning enough for me to stop watching and just go ahead and review Jack Frost 2 like I was going to. Okay, maybe next year. Anyway, soon enough we're introduced to Santa Paws' kid, one Puppy Paws, via some of the worst CGI you will ever witness. Anyway, he's a spoilt little twat who doesn't want to listen to anyone and just wants to do his own thing. This causes the reindeers to bemoan the fact that,
oh, that pup sure has a lot to learn before he takes the reins and is responsible for Christmas.
Whoa. Okay, wait just a minute. Do you mean to tell me that when Santa eventually retires from this job, he's going to have a dog take over the responsibility? Now, I've heard of some bad succession plan in my day, but none of them involve leaving your pet in charge of the fucking company. So, anyway, we then take a trip to Santa's workshop, where there are equal quantities of elderly midgets in curly toe booties and dogs playing piano. Why? I don't know. And more importantly, I don't care either. In the midst of all this clinking and clanking, Puppy Paws decides to hit the fast button on the production line. And as you can expect, chaos ensues, and the elves and dogs get rather upset about that. Which only begs the question, why have a fast button on the machine in the first place if it's just going to fuck everything up? Anyway, for causing this insanity, Puppy Paws is brought before the Christmas High Council, which consists of two dogs, that midget guy out of Watchmen who was brutally killed by Rorschach, and a very drunk-looking Santa Claus. This foursome explains to us that Christmas is important because it's the day when children and dogs get the presents they've wanted all year, and now Puppy Paws has put them a day behind schedule. Anyway, this stern talking to certainly has the desired effect, as Puppy Paws now thinks that Christmas sucks. At this point in the movie, we're then introduced to the Buddies, or reintroduced if you've seen any of their previous movies. However, for those of you who are unfamiliar with the Buddies, let me just say that they're all Labrador puppies with different personalities. There's a rapping dog called B-Dog, there's a country dog, there's a football dog, and there's a dog that's a Buddhist for some reason. And if the Buddhist dog believes in Christmas, then I'm going to be really confused. I should also point out that these dogs all look pretty much the same, just with a different outfit. It could even be the same dog for all I know. Anyway, the bad guy in this movie is an evil dog catcher called Stan Scrooge. Yes, you heard me. S. Scrooge, as in Scrooge. And not surprisingly, he hates Christmas. He also hates dogs as well, which makes me wonder why he's even a dog catcher in the first place. Oh, and you can use as much sinister lighting as possible and even give the guy a Freddy Krueger-style hat. But when you've got Doc Brown himself, Christopher Lloyd, playing the bad guy, sorry, I'm not buying it. Between this and George Wendt as Santa Claus, the casting director for this movie shouldn't be allowed to work in Hollywood ever again. So anyway, Puppy Paws finds Santa's naughty list and decides he'd have much more fun hanging out with some naughty doggies. So he decides to hitch a ride in a magical mail truck. Yeah, don't ask. Meanwhile, the Christmas icicle continues to melt, and with it, the spirit of Christmas is melting away as well. I just thought I'd mention this because the movie mentions this about 50 times in the span of 90 minutes. And each time we have to sit there, looking at it, hanging there, looking for all the world like a massive ice cock having a piss. Lovely. Anyway, Puppy Paws meets one of the buddies, the one on the naughty list, Butterball, and he wants to learn what it's like to be a regular puppy, which Butterball demonstrates by eating lots of cookies. I can only imagine the scene where the dogs are later crapping all over the place was cut out of the finished movie. Butterball then introduces Puppy Paws to another buddy, B-Dog, who shows Puppy Paws how to rap and how to break dance.
I call this the Prince Robin Bob. Huh? To the spinning toy top. To the El Bustle Bustle. To the shiny toy train.
And so this goes on and on and on, and eventually he meets all the buddies, and he keeps messing everything up for them. One minute he's splattering mud all over the place, the next minute he's turning Buddha statues into snowmen. Oh, that's a nice message that Disney's sending out, isn't it?
My good.
Dear God, I can imagine Richard Gere getting pissed off whilst watching this movie. Anyway, during all this talking puppy-related gubbins, Mr. Scrooge gets a visitor to his dog pound, who wants to buy a puppy for his son for Christmas. There's just one problem. The dog costs $300 and the guy's only got $50. And somehow this makes Doc Brown the bad guy. Okay, for fuck's sake, he's only trying to run a business here. We are still in a recession after all. I mean, if I walk into Asda and I want to buy an Xbox, but all I've got is 20 quid, I'm going to understand it when they say, well, sorry sir, you can't have one. You know, I'm not going to think, wow, what a bunch of dickheads they are. Oh, and I should point out that his son is one of those cute little kids that we see in the movies who also happens to be quite poorly. Yes, like Tiny Tim. So you've got the cute, ill kid and the miserable old git called S. Scrooge that hates Christmas. This movie is so desperate to become a Christmas favourite movie, it's ripping off ideas from A Christmas Carol, The Thieves. Meanwhile, back with the buddies, they finally realise that Puppy Paws is a pain in the arse and make the decision to ditch him. But no sooner than 10 seconds after doing this, old PP is dog-napped by Doc Brown. Oh no! Meanwhile, back at the North Pole, Santa Claus is looking sad and somewhat intoxicated. We're also told that if Puppy Paws isn't found, Christmas will die forever. You know, with each passing moment, this movie makes less and less sense. Meanwhile, at Mr. Scrooge's dog pound, the dogs explain to Puppy Paws how they all have the Christmas spirit. Then the smallest dog of them all, named, get this, Tiny, yeah, as in Tiny Tim, sings a really bad and sappy song. Oh God. Shut up. Shut up! Shut up, please! Look. If you're a dog and you want to sing a Christmas song, this is how you do it. Anyway, thanks to the buddies and Santa's helpers, the dogs escape the pound. Yeah, like you didn't see that coming. During their escape, they decide to pounce on poor Christopher Lloyd and drown him in their saliva, which he seems to enjoy rather too much. Hey, Doc, come on, they're licking your face, not your balls, as Marty McFly probably wouldn't say. Now that he's escaped, Puppy Paws decides that he needs to head back to the North Pole, but there's no reindeer to be found in town, so of course the buddies pull the sleigh and fly home. Oh yes. And with Puppy Paws wanting to be back in the Christmas spirit, the North Pole penis stops dripping. Who knew the solution to global warming was a dog believing in Christmas? Not me. So, back at the North Pole, Santa Paws and Puppy Paws are reunited. And then, for some reason, Santa opts not to do the run this year, but instead have Puppy Paws and his buddies take care of it. Now, I believe the idea that the reindeer was sick, but I'd rather think that Santa's just been asked to blow into a bag and asked to walk in a straight line off screen. And as expected, Scrooge learns the error of his ways and becomes a nice guy. So nice in fact that he gives Tiny, the cute dog, to the Tiny Tim-like little boy. Aww. although it's possible that he might have just been freaked out by the sight of that talking elf dog. And if that dog could really talk, he'd probably be saying, oh God, get these fucking clothes off me! So the dogs fly all over the world, delivering presents and other racial stereotypes that they haven't touched upon already, and eating bean burritos. Seriously. Finally, Santa sobers up enough to get off his own lazy fat ass and deliver the rest of the presents himself, but not before he gives the buddies their very own Santa hats. And finally, my own Christmas wish comes true. This fucking movie comes to an end. And that's not all. As I mentioned previously, there's a whole series of these buddies movies out there, and Santa Paws himself even got his own spin-off movie, which was even worse than this one, as we got to see such wonderful sights like Santa being run over by a car, a really unpleasant woman that throws orphaned kids' toys into a furnace, oh, and the sight of Santa Claus lying in hospital on life support. Oh, good fun for all the family there. Okay, so I understand that this is a kids' film, but come on! If you want a decent Disney Christmas movie, then there's literally dozens of alternatives that you can choose over this piece of dog shit, so do yourself a favour and avoid this movie. In fact, I'd go so far to say Santa Buddies is so bad, it doesn't even get a thumbs down. Instead, I've had to come up with an entirely new rating just for this film. It's not even going to get a thumb, it's going to get a middle finger. Merry bloody Christmas.